Hello, lovely people. How are you? Hope you're looking after yourself, taking all precautions, eating well, exercising, staying indoors as much as possible, along with family, friends, and everyone around you. Yes, if you're doing that, you're doing great. Here I am once again, your host, Wing Commander Satyendra Chauhan, aka Wincochau, the resilient lifestyle strategy coach from Bangalore, India, with yet another episode of Know the Happiness How with Wincochau. Last week, we spoke to somebody who believed in far too much of mental and physical toughness, and which attributes to the kind of disciplined lifestyle he lives. Today, we are joined by a person whose resilience comes from the simple, basic ways of life. Our guest today is host of one of the new podcasts and an emerging, lovely, entertaining one, the best a man can get. He is kind of funny, entertaining, and as he describes himself, the creator of awkward moments. He sees a fine thin line between ice breaking and shattering icebergs. At 45, he looks like a child. He is childlike sometimes. And now, through his podcast, he's looking for real living to help wake up his fellow middle aged men to dare to dream and get there. So, without much ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on this show Mr. James Finney, aka Father Finney. Welcome, 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 James.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for having me today.
All right. So, James comes from Shrewsbury near Birmingham, UK, and he's gonna take us through his journey of turning a podcaster from a businessman. While all that happens, let's remind all of you all that Happiness How with Winko Chow is a show that airs meaningful conversations to bring a smile, a sparkle in your eyes, and cheer your moods. Well, that is all done in the environment today, which is full of challenges, negativity, and all around people are stressed out. So, when we are talking of stressed out, what better way to chill out on this 15th August, the Independence Day in India afternoon, talking to James Finney. So, James, tell us something. Tell us, what is kind of intriguing with you, because every time I look at you, although you are witty, you are serious, and yes, there is some suspense lurking behind somewhere. And like I said, there are many who are intrigued. So we would want to know a little more.
Okay. Well, first of all, I've got to say congratulations for escaping the British Empire. The most of us bits are sort of still trying to do it. You guys got out, so that's good. Hopefully,
what
we
better,
can
what
leave
better?
this little island at some point soon. Um, yes,
I said, what better
yes.
way to,
Um,
grill a Brit today on my show?
Absolutely, yes. There's a fire burning outside that you're going to throw me on later, which is a nice way to go out, I think.
Yes, yes. So coming back to our question,
Yes.
what is that suspense, which you've created around yourself?
That's probably poor planning. That's a fantastic tool for creating suspense. Um, Knowing a
Indeed.
rough idea, but not a proper idea, not a proper plan. So that's a fantastic tool for suspense.
Hmm. All right. And I remember you saying that, you know, why are people stressed? They're stressed from within, and it is because of results of not being true to yourself. And in a way, they are like punishing themselves because they've been lying to the world. So this was actually which, got me thinking. I said, behind that, humor and wit, there is some serious thinking going on. So would you like to tell us a little more about it?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I've been in what I would call a mind trap since a very young age,
Hmm.
being sort of protected by my mother, as it were, so not going out
Okay.
mixing. So I spent a lot of my time in
Hmm.
here,
Okay.
be it thinking, role playing, various stuff like that. So um, I give thought to a lot of things, probably far too much thought, probably
Hmm.
unhealthy levels of thought.
Hmm.
I was saying to someone the other day that I've probably burnt many millions of calories just thinking alone, the amount of energy that I go through doing that. But the downside of that is that you don't do much in the physical world. There's not much in the way of action that's being done.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that has probably been my main ruin is, yes, I can think through a great thing, but really what's required in life is the application of it. So that's where I'm gearing up in life now, is actually doing things
Hmm.
and not giving too much thought to things.
Hmm.
I've done 40 years of thinking. Now it's time for action.
Great, great. And what you say there is, can happen to most of us. And that is what I keep saying. We're victims of victims. So there are a lot of things apparently which should have been known by our well-wishers and our
Yes.
ancestors, and could have held us in good stead. But nevertheless, as long as you reach there, that is the idea. So now, like you just mentioned,
Mm.
going beyond 40s, now you said it's time for action. So how has it been for you, going down this road of crossing your 40s? And if I may say, did you do, get to face that midlife crisis kind of thing?
I think I started my midlife crisis at the age of 11,
Oh,
really. And it's just been building up and building up. Um,
that's a lovely way to put
I'm
it.
not having, I don't have the sort of traps that many a man would have. Yeah, I don't have the sort of things that many a guy would have at middle age. Normally,
Hmm.
it's a case of you've got a secure job, you've
Hmm.
got the pension, you've got the car, you have the
Hmm.
house, blah, blah, blah. I don't really have any of that.
Hmm.
So my crisis is more of a crisis of choice,
Hmm.
knowing that my lifespan is getting shorter, but there's so many things I want to go and do. So I've really got to get active and make sure I make the right choice and do the right thing.
Hmm.
Um, so I thought one of the best things I could do is probably just talk to lots of people who've gone through it or succeeded in handling it, and follow their word of advice as opposed to muddling along as is the common operating basis for most people.
Oh, that's lovely. And I was thinking the other way around. I said probably
Okay.
you're going to dole out some advices there, as well. So good to know that there was this long midlife crisis which prompted you to come to the
Mm,
rescue of, if I may say, the other comrades. So, and who
yes.
actually think this phase as not so attractive one. Yeah, whereas they do. So tell me, I mean, do you find it interesting going through this process of trying to put things together?
Um, do I find it interesting? I find it's more of a necessity than
Okay.
interesting.
Uh-huh.
It's a bit like you've got a few scraps of food on the floor. Am I
Hmm.
interested in eating them? No. But if I've got no food in the cupboard or food in the house, it becomes more of a necessary thing to maybe start picking and choosing those scraps on the food. See if there is a bit of an animal carcass that I might be able to nibble on. Um, yeah, that sort of thing, as opposed to an interest in it. However, uh, now the necessity level to do things, it has also sparked an interest in all the options and other things that there are out there.
Hmm.
Um, I went out looking for a solution, but really there is no a solution. There is lots of solutions. They're just interpretations of a solution. So
Hmm.
I'm getting more spoilt for choice. However, I'm taking a bit of everything, and I'm finding that far easier to do than to just go all in on one particular way of seeing life. I think it's more fun just to make your own little jigsaw puzzle.
All right. So while you're doing that, do you find there are challenges going through this whole exercise of, getting your jigsaw puzzle right. And and
Mm.
is that what a best man can get?
I think probably one of the first things a man can get is a bit of order.
Okay.
Um, you need that first of all. If you're going to be in chaos or confusion, which is probably your lowest operating state as a human being, you're not going to go far, or you're just chancing it. It's just going to be luck. So you do need to bring order. Now that order could be anything from tidying your kitchen or your
Mm-hmm.
house or cleaning your car out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then beginning with the little thoughts of your head, um, emptying your phone of nonsense. It could be just little steps of order that actually reduce the appearance of chaos around you, and actually you can identify things and give more thought and attention to things, as opposed to wandering around your house looking for a particular tool, or you've lost a shoe. Why have you lost a shoe? Because you haven't put your shoes in order.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of basic thing, really. I think that's a fundamental building block, is first get out of confusion and identify something and bring a little bit of order. It's always odd that people are on Facebook, they're pretty willing and eager to tell you how we should run the nation and how we should run the economy, but they
Mm-hmm.
can't even manage their own hair. They look terrible, and their own profile is a mess. So you couldn't
Mm-hmm.
trust their opinion.
Good. So that's one of the reasons why your profile on the Facebook is also very intriguing and suspenseful. So so
Still a
you
mess.
no, no. So while you say that, it reminds me of, some what I'd heard somewhere: outer order, inner calm. So great
Yeah.
to, yeah, share that small little tip with us. So uh, just tell me in
Yeah.
general, what, like I said, the show focuses on the multiple challenges that youth and professionals go through in their workplaces, and the negativity stemming out of that kind of causes them to wear out, burn out, and you know mm, look for some resolve, and
Yeah.
difficult to find one. So how has it been in your workspace? Like, you are into a business, and I remember you saying that yes, one should be kind of looking to win a jackpot in a race. So how is it like if I want to connect the dots?
Yeah. Um, for the younger, uh, for the younger of our group, as it were,
Hmm.
I would personally say that you've got to. There's a lot of focus in your 20s and 30s about that you've got to live life, enjoy
Hmm.
life,
Hmm.
um, and go out, maybe be a little bit wild and do those sort of things.
Hmm.
Now, I can see how that is. However, if you do that, you're going to pay the price a bit later in life. From the people I've met and seen, the ones that have actually been busy during their 20s and early 30s and really putting the effort in, when they get into their 30s, 40s, they can start to kick back a little bit. When you
Hmm.
start to delegate your empire, as it were, out to others, you can then enjoy the real things and actually genuinely enjoy life. When I was younger and going out, I hated the fact that come a Monday morning, I had no money again. I'd
Hmm.
blown it all and had nothing to show for it other than a hangover. And I know it's like parents say, "Oh, you shouldn't do this," and young people want to get it out of the system. But I would urge or moderate yourself a great deal in that regard. Not go out Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Hmm.
and seriously put a bit of things. I would put more energy in when I've got the physical energy. So when you don't have the physical energy when you're older, you can then kick back and enjoy. I'm not saying retire. That's pretty sounds pretty boring to me. But in regards to your 20s and 30s, that's what I would certainly do.
Great. So
Don't know if
so
that's any use for you.
oh yes, it's certainly would be, and how much of it is taken in letter and spirit is left to them who are listening and watching this. Well, so while we've spoken of the younger ones. Now that you have been interacting
Mm.
through your podcast and you must be researching, what are the challenges that you see
Yeah.
people facing in their midlife, as your show, kind of aims to address those, woes of life, kind of.
Okay. The two things that are standing out to me at the moment are seriousness
Mm-hmm.
and time.
Okay.
People are getting too serious in life, having to make serious and right choices. I don't think you should make serious and right choices. I think you should have done that before and start to have a bit more fun in your life. And time, because the awareness of self in regards to your physical mortality
Mm-hmm.
becomes more apparent when your kids are suddenly shooting up and you're thinking, what happened to my last 10 or 15 years? What did I do in those last 10 or 15 years? And how long have I got? Um, so you have to make the most of time. It becomes more and more apparent.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. I hear lots of children say things like, I'm bored. And I'm never bored. I haven't been bored for years because I've got too much to do. Whereas for some reason, children find the phenomena of boring quite an attractive one. Um, so yeah, those are the two things that I've seen in discussions about people is the problem of time. And many men make the excuse about time. Oh, I don't have time. I don't. They do. They just don't recognize that they have the time to do things, or they don't make the time right in order to do things.
Oh, so when you bring in that interesting take, uh, if you give me an opportunity to ask you, if somebody says, okay, you tell me, how do I make time?
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, write down now what you actually do with your time. It's surprising amount of time men spend in toilets doing nothing. It's surprising how much time men spend, or people spend queuing in shops,
haha.
or sitting in traffic,
Mm-hmm.
or spend time talking to other people just complaining.
Mm-hmm.
Take away that time, you've actually found a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably spent over the last year um, I've probably spent over 2 weeks in the toilet, really. If you actually total up all the time, that's quite a lot of time, isn't it, to be in the toilet for 2 weeks? So
Very true,
yeah,
very
we
true.
need to be more effective on these sort of things.
And they would have a reason saying that they spend more time in the toilet
And if you've got
reading.
a TV, get rid of it. That's what I would say.
That's that's absolutely right.
Yeah,
You see
yeah.
you see one
If they
behind me.
read, that's good. But yeah, no, that's a necessary and good thing. I know someone who's made a life-changing event by reading a book in a an Indian takeaway. Actually, it was a curry house, and
Hmm.
they found a book on the shelf. I
Hmm.
don't know why they were looking at books whilst in there, but they found a great book, and they found content in that pretty much changed their life.
Hmm.
So sometimes going to the toilet is quite an effective thing,
Hmm.
but the predominance of it, you could better manage that time, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's lots of things in life that we do. And I think it was Jim Rohn that asked a man about his TV, and he said, how much does that TV cost you? And he was like, oh, it's like $500. And he was like, no, that TV's cost you $20,000 because all the time you spent watching it, it's cost you a fortune. And I think
Absolutely.
he's right. Just get rid of TVs. Stop buying them, guys. Invest the money in something more useful.
Very, very true. I guess in the business schools where they teach opportunity cost, they should be citing this example now. You know, a very simple one.
Yes.
You, how much money can you save? You can
Yeah.
save a fortune by not having TV.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially today,
Absolutely. Yeah.
s- and especially today when most of the entertainment is kind of available in your own palm.
Yeah.
So,
That's
the,
totally right. Yeah. In the UK, we have the TV license, which is like £150 a year, which is
okay,
basically
okay.
a permission to
Hmm.
own a TV.
Hmm.
Well, don't own the TV. £150 a year saved. That's 30 years. That's what, £4,500.
Hmm.
Significant.
All right. So now there's another aspect that I would want to touch base with you is, which I generally ask my guests, is that has there been a challenging event? I mean, if I may call it, I don't like to call it failure, but yes, I call it a challenge or something which was a great obstacle, and it actually worked out to be an opportunity in disguise.
Ooh, going bankrupt was a bit of a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm familiar with the concept. In when I the first time I went bankrupt, it's the first time because it's been two. Um, I there was a weird transition. I'd spent
Mm-hmm.
my life or up to that point on a hamster's wheel, going round and round and just throwing money at debt,
Mm-hmm.
throwing money at debt, and it wasn't going anywhere. So legally, I was in a position where I had to go bankrupt in order to be solvent.
Okay.
Once I was out of that, I was the richest I had ever been. I didn't have credit. I just had a job, but I wasn't paying out any debt. And I was able to start doing things like going on a holiday. Because the weird thing was, even though I was in debt and had all this credit,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go on holiday. I didn't live a rock and roll lifestyle. Yet, without all that debt, I
Mm-hmm.
suddenly was able to do so. And I had
Mm-hmm.
control of my money. And I knew how much money I had and I knew where it was. And that was a great thing. And then I got using debt again and it went wrong again. So, so for me, I know debt has its uses, but that's only really for big purchases or if you're going to make profit on it or you're
Mm-hmm.
intending to make profit on it. That's the only time I would recommend using credit.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, don't use credit for living
Mm-hmm.
because it destroys living. So yeah, that was a learning curve or a learning experience, which now after my second bankruptcy, I'm very much aware of, and I would entertain credit, but only for the purpose of making more money. I wouldn't use credit for anything else.
Mm-hmm. So that's a very very interesting take for all the listeners and people who are watching this. Stay away from that debt trap. And as
Yeah, yeah.
I
They sell it as they sell it as such a convenient thing. Like, oh well, if you use your credit card, you can increase your credit score. So I see people in their 20s using credit cards to pay for cinema tickets and pay for things like that.
Mhm,
But do they pay it when they get to the end of the month? Or does the
mhm,
cycle, as it already started, they're like, oh, yes, I pay my credit card bill. I'm just collecting a few points.
mhm,
Really? It's a tricky thing to be in, really. That I would, many wealthy people I've seen, they only normally have one or two cards, and that's more for insurance and convenience as opposed to the flashiness of it.
mhm. So that also reminds me, uh, you saying that customer is number one in the finance trap. So did you mean it was this debt trap that you were talking of, or is it something
No,
else
no,
that is all right? Mm-hmm.
that's something else. That's the corporate point of view. I've
Okay.
been unfortunate in some companies whereby they make the customer number
Mm-hmm.
one, and the
Mm-hmm.
customer is the thing. No,
Mm-hmm.
they're not, because without your staff, there's no customer. So the
Very
first
true.
thing you must have
Mm-hmm.
is staff,
Okay.
and the staff are what put out the company. They are the representation of the company. To make the customer number one, I think is the wrong way around. And it
Mm-hmm.
immediately demoralized the staff. Every time I've seen it come in where everyone puts focus on the
Mm-hmm.
customer,
Mm-hmm.
standards of staffing, training, skills, everything just declines. It's a weird mindset. I don't know where it came from, but
Mm-hmm.
many people turned up into large companies and they have this, yes, the customer is our number one focus. No, it should be yourself is the number one focus. Start with self and work out. I think that's a lot more logical from what I've seen anyway.
So good. Actually, you're turning out what I expected you to be. You're a far much more serious person than 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 what you supposed to be. That is a funny man.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, there is so much to learn from
Yeah.
you. These are things which are not available. In most of the domains. And experience teaches you, and it's lovely that you're sharing it with us.
Oh.
So, and now that you have embarked on a new journey of podcasting and you intend to, you know,
Mm.
take it for a living, or if I may say, a career, how challenging do you find it here? Although it sounds honky dory, you are, kind of among 2 million podcasters around the world, globe, this, and yes, you've
Yeah.
begun on a good note. You've
Yeah.
trained by the best. So, how challenging does this seem to you now?
Ooh. The challenge. The main challenge I have with podcasting,
Hmm.
it's either a tool to advertise something else, like it's a lot of celebrity people get into it. A lot of them have got into it recently because they've got nothing else to do and they're not allowed to work or gig. So everyone's sort of, it seems to be at the moment, yay, let's all podcast. However, when things start to revert, I expect they'll probably stop and
Hmm.
give up because it's not their driving passion.
Hmm.
It's just something for them to do. In regards for me, the podcast is the thing.
Hmm.
Um, that is the focus. I'm not using it to pitch or sell other stuff,
Okay.
other than maybe me. But the primary purpose of it is to help and benefit as many people as I can. And in that selfish way, hopefully, it'll benefit me, my family, and others. The thing that people sort of neglect on the subject of podcasting is it's not in itself a thing to make money, really. It's a communication thing. If you're a big player, then yes, potentially you could make good living. But at the moment, I'm on negative loss because I've bought bits of equipment that will need to be paid for. I've bought training that will need to be paid for and covered. But the only way I'm going to make that money back is probably through being involved in events or helping people directly on a one-to-one basis or things like that. Uh, and there's also merchandise through the fun things I'm going to be doing. But yeah, I think there's a bit of an illusion to think that, oh, you're a podcaster, you're going to make money. That's not really its purpose or its system. You'll make a bit of money, but will that money even pay for your electricity? Probably not.
And what you said is very right. The other day I was listening to somebody, and I also believe in that. I say you do your core, and rest all is a byproduct. And that apparently has happened. That is probably is gone wrong with the media today. The focus was something else.
Mm,
Like you said, podcast is a show, it's a talk show, or it's something to have some meaningful conversations or air your views. But yes, if you start looking it as a real time profession, yes, it is a profession, but then that should the byproduct of that or the outcome would be what can sustain you. Otherwise, yes, it is what we are doing. So one must do what is enjoy the process, and rest will
mm,
certainly follow you. As long as you're giving value, it certainly would be there.
yes.
So going forward, what are your plans? Anything in place? Next 5 years, 10 years down the line, where do you see yourself?
Mm. The first plan, the first step in regards to my podcast is to build up a audience base. I need to get to,
Hmm.
I don't know what the numbers would be yet, but that's what I need. So basically, all I'm focusing on right now is interviewing and having as many great conversations as I can as possible in the
Hmm.
shortest possible period of time. Build up an armory of broadcasts that cover all the aspects that we could maybe do, and then maybe branch out a little bit more. In regards to a year or so's time, it would be great if I could actually be solvent on the project, that it's covered itself. Um, and I would aim to be also at a point where I'm actually covering all my living cost and then I can
Hmm.
just do this 100% of the time. This is a sort of job I could do 60, 80 hours a week, no problem. Whereas my actual income, I struggle to do that for 20 hours a week. It bores the wits out of me. So
Very true.
this I would much rather do. So yeah, that's where I'd like to be in a year's time is actually, this is my full-time stock and trade. It doesn't matter whether I'm making a great deal out of it, but as long as I'm eating and everything's paid, I will enjoy the experience because that's a far greater value than what you could associate money. Because in the day, in a year's time, money might be worthless anyway. So I think friends would be a far more valuable thing than what you've got in the bank.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the takeaway that I'm taking, reading between the lines is that if you're passionate about something and you love doing it, you would enjoy doing it. When you enjoy doing it, you would be optimistic. Your productivity is excellent,
Yes.
and yes, your shelf life is increased. And the the smaller aspect, or which kind of is hidden behind this, is relationship, which actually is primary. We are human being actually, and we need relationships to survive. So what you said is friends are going to be far more valuable than that money in the
Yeah.
bank. So yes. So
Yes.
we've had real serious kind of talk. Now tell us, what is your typical day like? How it is to be James Finney,
Oh
or is
wow.
it Father Finney all
Uh,
the while?
it's James Finney socially, I suppose, but I do prefer the slight aura of protection from Father Finney. I suppose it gives me legal protection to be slightly different in opinion. I'm not quite sure on that front yet. Um, in the average days are changing. So it depends on how long you gauge an average day. Is it over the last week? Is it over the last 8 weeks?
Hmm.
If it was over the last five, well, if we go over my corporate career, an
Hmm.
average day was anger, repressed rage, disappointment, um, a dislike of the human species. The last 2 years, I've had a liberation of being self-employed. That it's more on me. I'm more aware of what I am doing or what I'm not doing, but I'm
Hmm.
not angry at the corporate world. And now it's a case in the last 8 or so weeks that I'm enjoying it. I like getting involved with people. I've not had any negative or horrible thoughts of self in the last 2 months or maybe more, which hasn't happened for many, many, many years.
Hmm.
And I can only put that down to the interaction with other human beings, speaking with like minded souls or people who are at a slightly higher level than me that are pulling me up, whether they're consciously doing it or not. So I'm basically in a new circle of people. So that's obviously had a useful and beneficial effect in regards to my life. So my average day now is a lot different than an average day of a year ago, and that's a lot different than an average day 3 years ago. Um, but sometimes a day can be very non-productive. I find I'm quite hard on myself. I'll draw out a whole list of things,
Hmm.
but the main thing, the main task, i.e., doing my stock and doing my business, that's the thing that gets done last because I really just cannot be. I need to handle the aspect of financial production because I still have a big button on it
Hmm.
and a dislike of all that things. But everything else, yeah, I'm happy to make a list and contact strangers, talk to strangers. Yeah, I love all that stuff. I'm not a fan of technology still or software. I'm still old school analog. I like buttons and dials. Um, but other than that, yeah, my average day is changing, probably better and more interesting as every day progresses.
Lovely. So I was looking to have a lighter conversation. You brought it to a serious note again. So now you'll
I
have
do
to tell
apologize.
me. So you'll have to tell me that what has changed
Yes.
that you having better days. What is that one aspect that you have changed yourself, or you've been very conscious about, you've been very aware or very mindful of, that has made all this difference?
Being truthful to myself, doing what I actually want to do.
Hmm.
The fact that it won't feed me yet is a problem, but doing that thing is feeding me in other ways. Um, yeah, I've got to be honest with myself. And as a result, things are changing for the positive
Hmm.
because I'm not living with regret about decisions or. Um, do you know, it was I had somebody was saying a few weeks ago, I was having problems with production, especially during the day, because I've read lots of self-help books and they're all like, oh, yeah, get up at 6 in the morning, you go out, you get the sunlight, you get your energy, you do your exercise, all that sort of stuff. But for me, yeah, I do that, but then I still don't want to work after I've done all that. I don't want to do any production, as it were, for my business.
Hmm.
Um, I just want to read or watch a film. So I'm trying to work during the course of a day with all that on my mind going, oh, I'd rather read, I'd rather do that. And then my
Hmm.
production is pretty weak. So
Hmm.
I'm now trying an experiment as of next week whereby I actually, after I've done all the morning routines, I'm just going to watch a film. I'm just going to read books. I'm not going to do any work until the evening now and
Hmm.
see what happens. Because I think probably be a lot more productive.
That's a lovely take. To be
Probably
truthful,
weird.
truthful to yourself, which is very right. We all say we do a lot of introspection, reflection, but are we really, being honest when we're doing that? That is left to be seen.
Yeah.
And so now I connect those small dots when you said people generally keep lying to themselves, and that is probably they face the wrath or so-called challenges in their own life or stresses or the negativity. So uh, while
Yeah.
all this is happening, you know, is there somebody who has motivated you, somebody who has inspired you, somebody who is a kind of, idol for you? Okay, so then.
Um, there's a few people that I don't like because every time I think of late people have asked me that question a few times, but every time in a new unit of time I give a different answer. So I suppose there's no harm in me answering it every time because it is giving whatever's at the forefront of my mind.
Hmm.
Um, the biggest influences right now are the people I've been training and learning with in regards to
Okay,
podcasting. People like yourself,
thank
other
you.
people in our group. They've kept me going. The likes of Brian Rose, he's a very subtle motivator.
Hmm.
Um, he's not in your face, but
Hmm.
is such a machine and has a great work ethic that it
Hmm.
inspires me to carry on and go and do that. So
Hmm.
yeah, there's those sort of people. In the business world, a lot of the corporate stuff, no, none of that gets, when some people go, oh, Jeff Bezos, he's amazing, or blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, I don't, they, no. Okay, they're good networkers. All those people are in that position
Hmm.
because of networking. They are not there because of themselves. No one human being can build $100 billion business from nothing in 20 years without the help of many, many influential people. It's not possible. It's like when you look at these Russian oligarchs that have suddenly arrived in the 2000s into the UK, all with many billions, yet only 10, 15 years ago they had nothing. It's like they've got lots of friends in certain places, and I don't know whether they're all legitimate. So none of that inspires me.
Hmm.
And if I had that level of wealth, I would pretty much give most of those shares to various charities and let them have the proceeds. Because what does one being need with all that wealth other than influence or control? It doesn't benefit your community by hogging everything. I know that most of them are share values, but they can still give those shares to other people. They don't need millions of shares in a company. You've got one body, you only
Hmm.
need one toilet, one bed, a week's worth of clothes. You don't need all that other stuff. And the fact that they're parading around in these big corporations saying they care about humanity while thousands are starving everywhere, it's just, I, I can't buy into it. It just sounds a bit nutty. So they're not my inspiration at all. The ones that make money and give it all away, yes, they are. Well, they don't give it all away, but they build and build and build empires that are gradually going out and helping it. Those sort of people I would respect.
That's that's
Does that
that's a
answer your
lovely.
question? That's quite a broad answer, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And no,
Okay.
these are subjective. The issues are subjective, so the answers, would be can't be so objective
Mm.
there. So it's fairly good. And what reminds
Yeah.
me is bringing back
I
is the
take bits
human.
from people, by the way.
Mhm.
Not everything.
Great, great. That's what I said.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
what I
It's
said.
like
Hmm. Go.
yeah. I
You were
saw
saying.
Joe Rogan yesterday, and
Mhm.
he is an incredible. I was thinking with Joe Rogan. I was watching his podcast last night.
Mhm.
He's an incredible. He brings people from various parties of life, and he has opinions, and you can see he has certain things. That's fine. Um, but he's still an incredible being because he is sharing these new people. So
Mhm.
many people I've met who have inspired me are because they were on his podcast, who I would never have come across or heard otherwise. So that's what that motivates and inspires me because I would like to also be doing that and finding people because I think there's plenty of people out there in the world that have great things to say and communicate. And I would like to see or share once I've
Mhm.
found those people with the world because the people that are currently where the media tells you to idolize or respect or their role models,
Mhm.
uh, immediately they're tainted by the fact that the media recommends them.
Yeah, that's a very interesting observation that you make there. That it's it's kind of driving you towards the kind of building a perception around you. And what interesting thing I
Mm.
noticed when you when you say is that yes, at the end of the day, it is the people who would be valued, and it is the power of compounding, and especially when there is that uniqueness of people which comes together. So, like you said, you pick up small little bits here and there from people, is really really very interesting.
Mm.
So now let's come back to what the best man can get. So you are in your prime 40s.
Mm.
I call it fairly attractive 40s, actually, where you've had the,
Okay.
the kind of experience, and now you know how to get away being naughty also. So
Yeah.
what what are your pranks, or what is that which you talk to other people, whereby you are able to kind of do it and still have it.
Okay. Well, one of the main purposes of my podcast is to have fun and to laugh about things, even if it's a serious thing,
Hmm.
um, because there's too much seriousness out there, especially the subject of mental health. I've gone through quite a few mental health podcasts, and they're
Hmm.
all very depressed, all very quiet, and they immediately suck you down. You're like, this isn't helping me,
Hmm.
and they have to be serious.
Hmm.
I personally don't want to put attention or validate the bad. You can't change your past. It's there. It's a memory. It's
True.
recorded. It's done. So why dwell on it?
Hmm.
If you can get your attention off it and into the present, and then maybe create a future, then great. And I
Hmm.
think humor is one of those things. It's a great distraction.
Hmm.
I love stand-up comedy or watching stand-up comics,
Hmm.
and I've got so many DVDs of those. I watch that an hour and a half later, whatever I've been feeling has gone. So that's perfect.
Absolutely.
I'd like to I like making people laugh. When I was a kid, I used to love being on stage and doing whatever and doing all the stupid stuff and making people laugh. It was there's something very unique about it, especially if you can make a stranger laugh. You have no idea what their point of view is, and
Hmm.
you do something ridiculous and they laugh. It's like, aha, I've found a little door to the actual being, because there's so much social veneer and people put on all this facade. But I think jokes and laughter break that down.
True. True.
Um, if you just look at the phenomena of laughter itself, people have so many weird laughs and strange laughs. It's the
Hmm.
sort of thing you'd think socially you'd repress and keep down. Going, oh, I hope they don't hear me laugh. My laugh is awful. Um, but when people are laughing, it's like everything's exposed, and they're open, maybe for attack, but they're also open to dialogue. And I think loosening people up, if you have them relaxed, they're going to be more open. And one of the great things I've realized recently about the work environment, I've worked in factories and
Hmm.
warehouses and I've done yucky jobs.
Hmm.
However, we enjoyed the work progress or process because we were having a laugh and being idiots. When a
Hmm.
serious manager came along and ruined it for us, we just ended up hating him and hating the job. So we didn't do a good job. Whereas if we were allowed to be fun-loving criminals, as it were, we got a lot more done and we're a lot more productive. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. Yet again, the workplace got too serious. Human resources come in with their serious things. Don't say this. Don't do that. Blah
Hmm.
blah blah, and they just kill the whole livingness of work.
Hmm.
So in my broadcast, there's no censorship. Um, Guests can be what and say what they want to say. They can do what they wish. I don't condone necessarily what they all say or all their opinions, but
Hmm.
then who am I to suppress or tell people what they can or can't say? I find that person genuinely interesting. I know they have content or ideas that are helpful to my listeners. So on that basis, say what
Hmm.
you wish. But my end goal of that is one, that the customer gets, not the customer, the listener gets value. I went all corporate there, sorry about that. That the listener gets something from it. Two, I get something from it, but also the guest gets something from it. I like to sort of help the guest think about what they're doing, think about
Hmm.
their own mission, and are they actually sincere and true in it? So they're the things I do, but I do try and do it in a humorous way. I find the simpler things, simplistic things, so funny. Many
Hmm.
people don't, but the fact I start laughing, I think, causes other people to relax. Yeah, that's what I do.
That's great, and that takes me to my introduction of yours, where I said someone who believes in the basic and simple ways. And while
Mm.
I'm saying this, I am transported back to, our childhoods. You see, why is childhood so very interesting? Because you don't have all
Yeah.
those guards, like you said, those social facades which you've created around you. And, you've kind of barricaded yourself with so many things which you think apparently are right or wrong. And if you shed all those guards and just try to be sensible enough and,
Mm.
live your life, probably laughter is the best medicine, as they all say. And there is
Yeah.
science to it. There's a lot of dopamine and other aspects which are associated. So while I'm speaking to you, the interesting part is that why not hear it from you? What is that phenomena of laughter? You just mentioned that.
Well, laughter is. I have studied it. I'm going to study it more actually as a personal mission.
Hmm.
It's a fascinating thing. I would like to get into maybe doing a bit of comedy, sort of stand-up stuff. I was invited to do it a long time ago when I was visiting New York because I was good at heckling the people on stage. So they're
Hmm.
like, well, you're quite good at that. Why don't you come up on stage and heckle the audience? So, but I don't want to get into all the visa stuff, and I had other things. So um, I would. There's two primary things I found in comedy or
Hmm.
humor,
Hmm.
and I've not found that rule breakable. And
Hmm.
that rule I've seen is that laughter is caused by surprise,
Hmm.
and secondly, an inability to accept the reality in front of you.
Hmm.
Now, if those are present, you'll have laughter. This is why when politicians give a speech here in the UK, I laugh because what they're saying is insane and I cannot accept it. I shouldn't be surprised by the fact because I expect it. But you can
Hmm.
always see in humor when something happens that you don't expect, there's laughter.
Hmm.
And I think those two things are there. So it's great for me when if I'm putting a show together that the listener, I don't want them to know everything that's going to happen. I like the element of surprise. And it's also the fact when I research a guest, I only go a little level deep. I'll see that they've done something, but I don't go in and read about it
Hmm.
because I like to be surprised when I ask them about it. Because knowing everything about your guest, that's a bit boring.
Okay.
There was an interviewer that Brian referenced to us, to Brian Rose told us to go and watch. Who's the serious guy that interviews all the actors? He knows everything about their lives.
Hmm.
Can't remember his name. He's got a goatee beard. Very serious guy. But his interviews are boring. Yes, they're factual, but
Hmm.
because he knows so much, there's no element of surprise in his being. Do you know what I mean? He's got no spontaneity. Whereas I prefer to just shuffle along and find the fun and have a laugh at it because then it's a natural laugh as opposed to a pre-planned laugh. So yeah, that's a great thing about laughter. Go and do something you don't expect. Do things with children because they're very hard to predict. So they're going to make you laugh. Animals can make you laugh because if you're out of touch with animals, that they, when squirrels do silly things, it makes me laugh. Cats, dogs, because you just don't expect it, and you can't accept that reality. If you play with a dog's gums and you make a dog look like it's talking,
Hmm.
people find it funny because it's an unacceptable reality. It shouldn't be happening.
And what connects all this is one word that you said. It's natural. You talked
Mm,
about children, you talked about animals, you talked about pets, you talked about things around you, all those that you mentioned, but for the grown-ups, it's all where it is in nature. So when it comes
yeah.
naturally and it is not expected, yes, it certainly releases a lot of oxytocin and dopamine and stuff like that. So so all those
Yeah.
who are stressed out at their workplace, looking at negativity and stuff, please do remember to look out for every occasion that maybe you can surprise somebody in a good way, naturally,
Yeah.
and with good intent. Obviously, be truthful. So those are some
Yes.
lovely takeaways that I draw from this not so funny talk of ours. So so yes, and as like I said, as expected, there is a very very serious thinking side to James Finney.
Yeah.
who wants that veil of Father Finney to be there. So it was lovely having you with us, James. It
Okay.
it has been great learning for me actually. There are a lot of things that I have taken away. Like you said, you learning from your guest, I'm doing the same in my shows, and every guest gives me at least a few points that always stick by and stay there with me. So yes, we wish you well in all your endeavors, and
Thank you.
I'm very sure that you're not going to go bankrupt the third time.
Yeah.
So now that you've started to value truth, and you have started to be more natural and value people and friends. So
Yes.
ladies and all those who had joined us in this conversation, I very sincerely hope that we were able to provide value for your time today with
Yes.
us. And I'm very sure that you would certainly be looking for more such interesting conversations, more interesting guests who come on our show. And remember, we air this every Sunday, 12 p.m. IST India time. So till we meet you again, it's time for me and James to say thank you and bye bye to you all. Take good care, take all precautions, and look after yourself, your families, friends, and everyone around. It's me, Wing Commander Satyendra Chauhan, aka Wincochau, from Bangalore, and James Finney, aka Father Finney, from Shrewsbury, UK, saying bye bye, take care, have a great day, and do celebrate the Indian Independence Day today. Bye bye.